this.
Okay, I think we're live.
Nice.
Hi, everyone. We are bringing you a live office hours. Our camera is a little blurry there.
Little blurry.
Sorry about that. But
It's a webcam.
very active weather pattern starting up. I'm Chief Meteorologist Monica Woods with ABC 10.
And I'm ABC 10 meteorologist Brendan Mincha.
And so we just wanted to offer this opportunity because it's been such a long, dry spell throughout the month of January. And now we've got this strong atmospheric river starting up. So we are streaming live on ABC 10 Plus. We also are on YouTube. And then hopefully, I'm checking right now, hopefully, there we go, are live on Facebook as well. So we're going to be looking at your comments, questions, and hopefully able to keep you ahead of the storm that's coming in. This is the first time that we're doing it this way, so bear with us and hopefully pack your patience.
Yeah, working through technical things on the back end.
We are. So thanks to all the folks behind the scenes as well that have been helping us to get this live on Facebook, YouTube, and our ABC 10 Plus streaming channel, which I would invite you to also download if you haven't done so already. It's on Roku, Apple TV, Fire TV, and then also on a lot of smart TVs. You can make sure you go into the App Store on your TV, download it, and we've got extended forecasts there. We also have our Emmy Award winning special Water Wasted. Lots of questions around water right now, and we're going to be adding a lot more to our water as well, especially as we dig into these atmospheric rivers. So if you just want to scroll up so we can see if there's any chat is disabled for all right. Oh, maybe I should.
I asked if we can get that enabled.
Okay, so hopefully we're going to get that enabled on the live stream for chat with our team behind the scenes. In the meantime, we are going to take you through some graphics here. And Joe, if you want to go ahead and put us in the 2 box, I know we're working through some of the different logistics here to try to get that. If not, I can probably pull up some of the things that we've been tracking here on our end. And maybe what we'll do is pull up some graphics on this side. Just, what do you think, Brendan?
That could work.
Okay.
Yeah,
I probably picked the wrong sector. That
grab
probably.
Grab the right this one.
Let's go back to what I was at. Oh, okay. Just stand by. We're going to pull up some forecast models for you. Let's see if we've got anything. I just wanted to make sure. Okay. Should we do Euro?
Do GFS.
Do GFS.
That one's
a better
ahead of the curve this time, so
okay.
We'll go with that one.
We'll go with that one. And then let me go back to the Zoom so I can just share my screen with you.
Share in the middle.
Oh, there we go. Okay, so we are going to share that screen. There we go. Okay, so I'm going to wait till this catches up so I make sure that I am with you guys. I'm sure we are. It's just, it's always in a delay. So, there we go. Okay,
Nice.
I see that we are up and rolling. So this is going to be the 18Z. We're going to run you through the GFS, and hopefully this is going to be the kind of what you would normally see on a radar, and hopefully that will give you some indications of how this is coming in. So this is going to be Friday morning, right around the morning commute, I would say. Yeah. And you can see some of the heaviest precipitation is actually in that northwest corner of California, where we're basically going to see the brunt of the early part of the storm anyway.
Yeah, North Coast for sure is going to see some heavy rain to start Friday. I think the commute really shouldn't be too bad on Friday. At least the morning commute. Definitely the evening commute is going to be different.
Okay, so let's fast forward now into right about, let's see, 8, 9, 10, 11.
Coming up on lunchtime.
Yeah, coming up on lunchtime. So we're starting to see some of that line pressing on I-80. Let me see if I can, I just want to get my annotation tool here so I can show you, because it's really hard. This is, and that's a like really bad color, but there is the I-80 line right there. Let me see if I can, normally we're using all of our graphics from our fancy machine, but so anyway, that's where we are looking at the line of precipitation. So again, this is where the strongest stuff is right there. And let me just erase all of that because that gets ugly. And then we're going to go back to moving through the storm system as we head into our evening commute. Obviously, you can see things are getting much more juicy through the Central Valley and into parts of the mountains. Now, what is notable about this, we're still going to be looking at a pretty decent snow. Our snow level will be about the pass level.
Yeah, anywhere between about 6,000 and 7,000 feet for snow through Friday. So kind of a typical setup for a lot of these atmospheric river events. Not low snow for sure, but also not a super high event. Friday is not going to be all that much rain either. Just, I mean, we're talking a quarter of an inch to maybe half an inch in parts of the valley. It's not until we get to Saturday that we really start to see more exciting weather move in.
Yeah.
And by exciting, I mean heavy rain. Some of the heaviest rain that we've seen maybe this winter even. I mean, we're talking about potentially 4 inches of rain in 48 hours for parts of the metro.
I think one of the things that is interesting as well is that we have hit this prolonged dry period. This is going to be a pretty significant atmospheric river, a strong A3, A or 3 or 4. Weather models have been kind of bouncing around, just trying to bust through this ridge, trying to figure out how much is actually going to be heading our way. But we do have the potential for some localized flooding as well. And that could be more so towards the valley on Saturday in particular, just simply because of that snow line moving up the hill. So what you're going to see is more of that rain kind of trying to flush its way down through the valley. Rivers look good though. That's the good thing right now is we are going to be right about the action monitor stage of the upper Sacramento River, including Tisdale, Fremont, Colusa, also the Cosumnes, and then Eel. And there was one more I thought that we were going to be Yuba.
But with all that being said, we're still going to see a rise on these waterways of several feet. Now, the larger rivers, the Sacramento, the American are not going to rise as much, but still a several foot rise along those rivers is expected. And then the smaller creeks and streams are definitely going to see water rises there because it's smaller, can't handle quite as much of that. So some localized flooding is possible. There's a flood watch which kicks in Friday afternoon, runs through Sunday evening. So yeah, this is a very dynamic system. Probably the biggest winter storm we've had to this point, even though in terms of snow, it may not actually be the biggest snowmaker we've had this year.
So somebody was just commenting, hopefully the creeks won't flood. I would actually say that's one of the places that might actually start to see some rises, especially Michigan Bar on the Cosumnes River that tends to flood over by Wilton. That one will be more vulnerable just because of the way that that is shaped and how hard it is to kind of move volumes of water through that area over in that region. That's one of the places that we typically go.
I know.
Over to Michigan Bar on the Cosumnes.
Yes. Definitely rural Sacramento County on the Cosumnes, definitely somewhere that we always watch. The McElhenney River will not likely flood, but definitely is going to see some rises on it. But yeah, this is not the saving grace, if you will, is that we really haven't had rain in a month, right? Or a little more. So that's not necessarily good in itself. But when we get these really juicy storms that come in, these long duration atmospheric rivers that are, deeply connected to the tropics, like this one is, that can be a flood issue. But in this case, because we haven't had the rain, we're not saturated, our rivers are not running high, our reservoirs are not overly full, we can handle it just fine. So widespread flooding, definitely not something that we will be, I expect, concerned with. But definitely localized flooding, some ponding on the roadways. That is more typical and what I expect that we'll be looking at with this storm.
And what's somewhat good about this too is that we won't be hitting a big commute situation on Saturday and Sunday. There just tends to be less people on the roads in specific windows of time, more spread out throughout the course of the day. But if you are running errands on Saturday, it's going to be very slick on the roadways. And wind, an issue, looks like early for the valley, and then it kind of picks up later for the Sierra on Sunday, which could mean some dicey travel in the Sierra, and not a high impact storm. I will say that, not a high impact storm for the Sierra initially on Saturday, just because it's going to be rain rather than snow. But then as that colder air starts to work in, we'll start to see more of an impact for the Sierra with the winds and then the falling snow line on Sunday.
Yeah. And this is kind of two parts here. The first part is we have this warmer storm, really Friday, Saturday, Sunday, which is going to be predominantly rain across the region. But then kind of the secondary, second round of storms coming in Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. I'd say Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday still a little more up in the air, a little more uncertain because today's Thursday. We're talking about something that's happening Monday, like 5 days away. But the point is that Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday round could be a lot more snowy, and in fact does look a lot snowier with snow levels closer to 6,000 feet once again. So initially, not necessarily a huge snowmaker. I think the longer it goes, we're going to see more snow out of it. So definitely a pattern flip. If you take nothing else out of this, it's a pattern flip. So don't expect a quick round of rain and we're done. This is going to be with us for the next several days.
And the other thing I would say too is if you are planning to go up Saturday and you're dealing with rain on the way back on Sunday, you're likely going to be in the midst of a pretty significant snow event. We have, let's see, we've got our winter storm warning is actually a little bit farther south than our region. It's going to be more so towards the Mammoth region, Yosemite, all the way into the central and southern part of the Sierra. As we dig closer to the Tahoe Basin, we've got our winter weather advisory. And then this was just posted as well. We've got a winter storm watch right through the basin and then up towards 395. Now that is kind of overlaid on the winter weather advisory as well. So that's going to be about 5,000 feet, or 5,500? Yeah, 5,500 feet. And then our winter weather advisory goes much lower in elevation. That starts up Friday morning. It's going to take us all the way through Sunday, above 6,500 feet. So that's where we kind of get into more of the wind situations, snow impacts.
And I know that we're saying these winter weather advisories, the winter storm watches, down to like 5,500 feet or so, or excuse me, 55 and 6,500 feet on those. But really, the snow levels are going to be climbing. This is a warm storm. We're very confident in that we're going to see snow levels climb as the storm progresses, especially through Saturday into early Sunday. So don't let the elevations necessarily fool you. Again, this is not going to be a huge snowmaker from Friday through Sunday, unless you are above, we'll say, 7,500 feet or so. Certainly, once you get above 7,500 to 8,000 feet, then it definitely looks like it's going to be an all snow situation. So the highest peaks really could end up with 2+ feet of snow this weekend, but it's really confined to the higher elevations because of how warm the storm is.
So we had a great question. This is from Chris, and he said, why do meteorologists now call a series of rainstorms atmospheric rivers? Why the scare tactics? It does sound scary. I have to say, so the wording on this has changed somewhat. I know in the 80s, we used to call almost all atmospheric rivers pineapple expresses because of the origins being near Hawaii. That is what this first round of rain is going to be. It's going to be a pineapple express type of atmospheric river. A lot of research has actually been done in the last decade on atmospheric rivers, and there's actually research and science behind it. These are big plumes of moisture. They're global weather events. Yay, we got our two box up. So these are global weather events. So now I can kind of start to show you what this is. So Chris, I think this will help to show kind of the connectivity of where the origins are on that moisture. So you can kind of see down by the Hawaiian Islands that we are pulling in this big plume of moisture. Atmospheric rivers actually provide 25 to almost 50% of the water for California to feed us through the dry summer season. And the necessary type of event that we need to provide us with, unfortunately, not only beneficial rain, but also they come at an expense of sometimes devastation and destruction.
So, yeah, and they come in scales, like a hurricane does, in a way where it's kind of ranked not an atmospheric river if it doesn't meet a certain moisture transport threshold or duration threshold, all the way up to a level 5. They're not technically called categories. It's called a scale, atmospheric river scale. AR1 is the lowest, to an AR5 being the highest, and the higher you go, similar to the Saffir-Simpson hurricane scale, the higher you go up the scale, the more hazardous these systems become. And so calling them an atmospheric river is not a scare tactic so much as it is a way to be informed of what is on the way, and just a bettering of the science of understanding the precipitation patterns here on the West Coast, which I would say historically, up until the last maybe 15 years or so, has kind of been largely ignored, with the thought that the cliche that it's always 70 and sunny in California. Why do we need to better understand rainfall patterns? But yeah, that's a little bit of a sidebar.
Yeah, and I would give a huge shout out to the Center for Western Weather and Water Extremes, because they have basically dedicated their entire research to understanding atmospheric rivers better, so that we have a better understanding of how to prepare for them and why we're so reliant on them for our water needs, our supply, our snowpack, and everything that goes along with it. Here's a look at the futurecast as we put this into motion, kind of what's been happening. We're under this ridge of high pressure, and that's been blocking everything coming in over the month of January. We saw a very different pattern in the early part of the water year. We saw through an amazing start. I mean, we were well above average. But now what we have is this high pressure ridge that's starting to break down. So the storm track is shifting. So the first round of rain that comes in, sorry, that just ran right through that first storm. Let me back it up for you. So Friday morning for the commute, again, most of this is going to be pretty north of us. We get through the morning commute, and then as we head into the evening commute, it gets a much different story there. We've got this big line of precipitation starting to move through from the Bay Area all the way up into the Sierra, where it is snow. Very typical winter pattern for us, actually. So we see that happening during Friday. Now let's fast forward as we head through Saturday. Very early in the morning, that snow line is shrinking, and this warmer air is moving through. Warmer air can hold more moisture. We're starting to get a very juicy system ripping through here with strong winds accompanying this. So we see how that snow, that purplish color, is really shrinking. You see the mix with that legend right up there at the top. We're looking at this mix of rain and snow coming in on Saturday evening. This is going to mean a lot of water pushing down into the lower elevations, i.e. the Sacramento, the San Joaquin valleys. So here we go through Sunday, and it's still largely a rain event in the Sierra. It's not until we get into some of this colder air coming through, and it's later in the day. So Sunday, we see rain in the valley, but it's not super heavy. Sunday's kind of one of the drier days. It's not until we get into our Monday timeframe that we're really looking at that snow line coming down. So we've got several hours to go where we don't really have a whole lot of snow in the Sierra.
Yeah, it's like I've been saying, this is not necessarily going to be a huge snowmaking event. So I see here on the YouTube live stream here, Samuel has got a question. Did the storm system originate in the Gulf of Alaska? Not really. This is a warmer storm for sure. The low pressure that's kind of picking up the atmospheric river and bringing it in is not quite coming straight from the north. It's actually originating out, basically, a few hundred miles off the coast of the Pacific Northwest. So That's part of the reason why there's not a lot of snow with the storm, because it is not cold. It has not originated in the Gulf of Alaska, in northern Canada. It's just not a cold system. So the snow levels are going to be much higher. We also have a question from Mike. Are we in the bullseye of these series of storms? In this
number one, yes.
In number one, yeah. Actually, if you can pull up the AR shifts graphic there, yeah.
Okay.
Yes, and in fact, it has worked our way a little bit closer to us. The much of this week, the models have shown the atmospheric river making landfall somewhere near Mendocino, maybe closer to Cape Mendocino or so. But that keeps most of the moisture north of Interstate 80, north of the Sac Metro, into the Northern Sierra, and I see it's in the 2 box there. So. But what we've seen really over the last 24 hours, basically from Wednesday afternoon through this afternoon, we can step forward one there, and you see that atmospheric river shift south, kind of the center of that AR shift south into the Bay Area, and then almost kind of follow Interstate 80 right across, inland into Northern California.
If your short-term memory's not too bad, you'll remember this is almost like our November storms.
Yes, that's right. In fact, a lot of this graphic was still set from the November storm, so it didn't need a lot of updating. But yeah, you see the graphic there and how that center of the system just moves right into Northern California, and so that changes our impacts. And so for us, you can step forward one more time if you want on that graphic. And what that means is it's heavier rain in the capital region, some higher rainfall totals. And initially, earlier this week, it was looking like it may just be 1/2 inch to 1.5 inches of rain in Sacramento, in places like in Stockton. But now, with the center of that atmospheric river pointed at Sacramento, pointed across Interstate 80, that is going to be a longer duration rainfall event with higher rainfall totals.
This is going to be the Euro that we're going to see next.
And the European model is, I would say, a little more conservative with rainfall totals, about 1.5 to 2 inches through Sunday afternoon, whereas the American model, the GFS, is probably, it's been more consistent at the very least. So I'm going to say it's probably closer to the truth on this one, where we're looking at probably 2 to 4 across the Sacramento Metro. Not quite as much in the San Joaquin Valley, because again, Stockton, Modesto, a little ways away from the center of that AR. But I mean, look at that, 6 inches in Auburn, almost 7 inches in Nevada City. This is really going to be quite a rainmaker, but again, not quite so much of a snowmaker. Someone says, so friends, winter is over. No, this is a typical winter storm. Winter storm doesn't have to mean cold storm. This is certainly not a storm we see in the summertime.
Another good one, the highest collapse since earlier. Now we get drenched. Essentially,
basically, the high pressure that's been blocking, sitting right off the coast, we call it a blocking high pressure. It is moving way further south. It is now going to be sitting off the coast of Baja, essentially. And when that drops that far south, it opens what we call the storm door, because it allows the West Coast to see these systems push through, and it also steers the atmospheric river up and over that high pressure. And in this case, when you get a low pressure accompanying it, it just kind of drags the atmospheric river right into Northern California.
Yeah, and people are also just kind of commenting along with the questions. And yeah, the 2022-23 water year was our 24, 24, yeah. I'm like, okay, let me go back. That was our drought busting year. We ended up with historic snowpack in the central and southern Sierra, and nearly historic in the northern Sierra, which says something. A lot of places recorded their most rain ever for a water year. We ended up with horrible flooding in the Tulare Basin. So the ghost lake, the Tulare Lake, reappeared. We had flood issues. That's why, again, we go back to these atmospheric rivers. They can be both beneficial, but if they come in succession of one another, like let's say we got this succession of storms in early December, that would have been very problematic because of what we got in late November. Those back-to-back storms would have been very difficult for water managers to handle that. The only good thing was early in the season. So let's say we get this series of storms, and on the heels of this, we get another series of storms. That's where it's really difficult at this point in the season. We're at 70 to 80% of capacity for our reservoirs. That's hard. Not so much in Northern California, but in Central California, those reservoirs can release. It's totally fine. It's the downstream tributaries that have a very difficult time handling large bodies of water coming through. They're just more restricted. So it's hard to push that through.
Well, the water's got to go somewhere, right? So if you make room in the reservoir, that means you're releasing the water downstream through the rivers, and in the San Joaquin Valley. Most of that water ends up in the San Joaquin River before heading out through the Delta. So you can't just release a bunch of water as it's raining and as everything is saturated, because you're just going to jam up the system down the line and cause some flooding problems. So to reiterate, we're really not worried about widespread flooding because, to your point, we just have not had the rain.
Right. We do have a flood watch, though. I will say we've got the flood watch in effect, along with this winter storm watch. I think what I did is I put on maybe one too many. Let's see. He was just letting somebody know that we're in here right now, but we're almost done with our live stream. I will say that. So
we have about 2 minutes, I'm told.
2 minutes. Yeah. Let me just take this off because I do want to show you the flood watch. So this is going to start up Friday afternoon. It's going to last through Sunday at 10. That means that conditions are possible, that we could see minor flooding throughout the low-lying areas. So if your storm drains aren't cleared or creeks, streams, and you're out and about running errands and you run into some slick spots and some problems on underpasses, that's the reason why. So any final closing thoughts? Because they're going to boost out of here.
Stay tuned to ABC 10 and ABC 10 Plus. I've been saying all along, it's a dynamic system. There's a lot of moving pieces. So just stay with us for the very latest.
And we'll have an update at 5, 6, 6:30, and 11 today, as well as right through the weekend. So thanks so much for your thoughtful questions, and we'll try to keep doing these, keep you up to speed. All right, everybody, thank you so much.